Welcome to the HHN Files. This is a story about love and the unexpected. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and most importantly, watching this video. Tonight's video is I Met a Girl in Portugal.
The sun was beginning to set as John stepped off the plane in Lisbon, Portugal. He had always wanted to travel Europe, but never had the opportunity until now. He had booked a backpacking trip to several countries, starting in Portugal. As he left the airport, he stopped to take in the stunning surroundings. The warm breeze blew through his hair, and the beautiful architecture of the city was all around him. Walking down the streets, he couldn't help but feel completely lost in the new world he had just entered. As he walked, he saw her. She was sitting on a bench in a park, her eyes seemingly fixed on him. She had long flowing black hair and piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through him. When John approached her, she simply smiled and asked if he was lost, which he was. She introduced herself as Mia, and she quickly became John's guide to the city. She showed him all the hidden gems that tourists never knew about, and he was grateful for her help. The more time he spent with her, the more he was intrigued by her mysterious aura. As they sat in a cafe one evening, Mia started telling John about the ancient legends of Portugal. She spoke of the dark magic that still existed within the country, and how the people were still practicing the old ways. John found it fascinating, but also slightly unnerving. After their conversation was over, Mia suggested that John come with her to experience it all for himself. He agreed, strangely excited about the prospect of seeing something that few others had experienced. Mia led him deep into the forest, and John realized how far out of the city they had ventured. The forest was dark and ominous. The trees seemed to reach up to the sky with their twisted branches. Mia urged him to keep walking further and further into the woods until they reached an old abandoned cottage. The cottage was small and run down. The windows were boarded up, and it looked like it hadn't been inhabited for years. John hesitated as he asked, "Are you sure this is safe to enter?" Without a response, Mia led him inside, illuminating the place with candles. She began performing an ancient ritual, chanting in Portuguese that John couldn't understand. He started to feel uneasy, but he couldn't bring himself to leave her side. Suddenly, the candles blew out, and the room was filled with a cold gust of wind. He couldn't see anything in the darkness, but he could feel the presence of something else in the room, something that emanated pure evil. Mia grabbed his hand and pulled him out of the cottage, her eyes wide with fear as she ran. John didn't need to be told twice, terror gripping him, and he followed her lead. They ran through the forest until they reached a clearing where Mia fell to the ground, gasping for air. He approached her, realizing she was the one who led him into this situation. Suddenly, she grabbed him with a strength he didn't expect and whispered into his ear, "Do not be scared, John. That was the test. That is just the beginning." John's hair stood on end, and he knew then that Mia was not who she appeared to be. The girl he had met, the girl who had shown him the city, the girl he had grown to trust has become something else entirely. He tried to wrangle his arm out of her grip, but her fingers only tightened. Suddenly, she began to change before his eyes, the skin melting off of her face, revealing a monster underneath. His mind was screaming before he knew it. He was running. He felt the tentacles wrap around his neck, choking him, and he felt unconscious. When he woke up, he was in a different part of the forest, confused and disorientated. He had no idea where Mia was, and even if she had ever truly existed. But he knew one thing: he had to get out and leave this place behind. He got up and ran straight back to the hotel without looking back, not bothering to think of how he managed defeat without a geographical reference. Once he reached the hotel, he spent hours trying to piece together what had just happened. Had he really been bewitched by a demon? He couldn't be completely sure. He couldn't risk searching for Mia, whether out of curiosity or otherwise. Days went by and John couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him.
He couldn't go anywhere without feeling he was being followed. Every sound, every shadow, every movement had become ominous. He began to feel like he was losing his mind. No one believed him. Whenever he tried to tell them what he had witnessed, he was alone, with no one to turn to. One night, as he lay in bed, he heard a faint scratching at the door. He got up, his heart pounding in his chest as he approached, dreading what he might find on the other side. When he opened the door, however,
no one there.